Hi everyone, my name is Colleen Kellerman and welcome to this parenting workshop. I'm an expert in the field of early childhood development and the author of Great Beginnings, Shaping Your Child's Success from Day One. This book takes a holistic approach to early childhood development and unpacks all the areas of development in detail from birth to 6 years old. Now, it's important to remember that early education is not a focus on academic achievement, but rather seeks to foster children who can manage their emotions, think for themselves, and communicate effectively. That brings us to the topic of today's workshop, raising emotionally resilient children. The goal of this workshop is to help you to recognize resilience and also to foster that resilience within your child. We'll be talking about the research-based tools such as calm connection, co-regulation, and consistent boundaries. But what is resilience? Resilience is the ability to recover, to adapt, and to keep going when faced with challenges. It's that inner strength that helps you get through difficult times, to learn from experiences, and to come back even stronger. The building blocks for emotional resilience can be found in the Great Beginnings book. Most noticeably in Chapter 2, when we talk about social and emotional development. We unpack it in great detail in Routine, Chapter 3, and of course in Communication, Chapter 5. So how can we recognize a lack of emotional resilience in our children? My child struggles with emotional resilience, and these are a few of the behaviors that I observe regularly in my own home. A child with poor emotional resilience will want to give up easily, will shy away from challenging tasks, will avoid participation in certain activities, particularly group activities. A child may even show aggressive behavior when they're having big emotions. On the other hand, a child with strong emotional resilience will show a positive outlook. They'll be assertive and empathetic. They'll strive to achieve goals and enjoy learning opportunities. The good news is that there is no cutoff date for building emotional resilience. A person can build emotional resilience at any age. If we consider the stress and challenge of starting primary school, we do want to try and ensure that our child has a well-established sense of resilience by the time they are 6 or 7 years old. Building emotional resilience starts at birth. Resilience is the result of healthy attachments and strong bonds between a child and their caregivers. Those bonds are dependent on positive experiences. It is the role of the parent to be vigilant and try to ensure that a child has minimal exposure to these kinds of experiences and this kind of stress. Even the slightest interaction that a parent has with their child has an impact. In order to ensure that a child experiences more positives than negatives in a day, a parent can create meaningful experiences for their child through consistent routines. We cannot protect our children from every negative experience that they may have during the day. But when the positives outweigh the negatives, we know we're doing a good job. Negative experiences can be defined in two ways: frustration and stress. And there is a difference between the two, and it's important to understand that. You see, frustration is a key feature of the early years. As soon as a child is aware of their needs or wants, their frustrations kick in and they grow. As they grow older, their frustrations increase. You see, a child is learning a lot of new things for the first time, and it takes a lot of trial and error and perseverance. We should not prevent a child from experiencing frustration, because these are the key moments in their childhood where they can learn resilience, and they can do so in a safe space. So while frustration can be healthy and normal, stress, on the other hand, has a negative impact on brain development. You see, when we're stressed, our body releases a hormone called cortisol, and that cortisol floods the brain and disrupts the brain construction process. When a child is experiencing chronic stress, which means they have stress all the time, then it has a lasting effect on their brain's development. Here are a few examples of some of the chronic stresses that children could experience in their home environment. Helping your child to deal with stress and frustration begins with secure attachment. Attachment is that bond between a child and their parent, and that bond is strengthened through consistent, nurturing, and responsive care. Attachment is essential for a child to help them build resilience. We're now going to explore some of the tools that you can use to help nurture resilience in your child. Let's start with consistent care. Consistency refers to that predictable, steady, reliable way in which you respond to your child. Consider the different ways in which you respond to situations in your home or to behavior that your child may display. When my child is having a tantrum, they are relying on me to be a calm, steady emotional presence. Our emotions mirror each other. Our nervous systems mirror each other. If my child is experiencing emotional distress, they are relying on me, a regulated adult, to help them to regulate their own emotions. This is called co-regulation. Routine stability, such as mealtime routines, bedtime routines that stay the same all the time, help a child to develop self-regulation skills. When a child knows that their needs are going to be met, it helps to build that sense of safety. And that sense of emotional safety reduces stress, and a child can then start to develop self-regulation skills. Responsiveness is your ability to notice, to understand, and to respond appropriately to your child's cues, their needs, their emotions. It is the core element of nurturing secure attachment, and it is how your child will learn to trust, to communicate, and to regulate their own behavior. Now, responsiveness does not mean that we are removing all discomfort or preventing things from happening to your child. Instead, it's about recognizing what your child needs in that moment, responding appropriately. Sometimes it might be with some comfort, and other times it might be giving them space to try something on their own. Now, the more responsive you are to your child, the better you will get to know them. And of course, the better you know them, the more appropriate your responses will be. You'll be able to start to tell the difference between a child that's hungry, a child that's tired, a child that's frustrated. And of course, that will mean that all your responses will be more appropriate. Children will try to manipulate you to get what they want, which is understandable. But the better you know your child, their abilities and their limitations, the better you'll be able to respond. Your child's going to get to an age where you need to start allowing them to do things for themselves, which means you're going to have to say no sometimes, and this is going to result in a lot of complaining and crying. However, your frustrated child should not be the one making decisions in your home. That is your responsibility as the parent. You are the authority in your home, and the longer it takes you to establish that authority, the harder it will be. So now it's your turn to be resilient and stand your ground. I often remind myself during those difficult times when my child is frustrated and challenging me that I am not raising a child, I am raising an adult, somebody who, Lord willing, in the future will have a job and co-workers, they'll have friends and a family. One day he will be a father and a husband, and it is my opportunity now to mold him into the person that I want him to be one day. Sometimes we forget that we are our child's greatest role model. So, if we're hoping to nurture resilience in our child, it is something that we should model and display all the time. You can have a can-do attitude and display that to your child. Sometimes you'll get frustrated and you can verbalize and say, "Whoa, this is so frustrating, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep trying. Maybe there's another way I can do this." Your child will see you and understand that you also have frustrations and that you also sometimes struggle to do things. And that's been a great role model to them because they can then mimic that behavior when they are having challenges and struggles. We can also encourage our children to have a problem-solving mindset. We all know that when you're faced with a problem, it's difficult to think and sometimes a brain break helps. Otherwise, challenge your child with questions like, is there another way that we could do this that will help? What's very important is that we don't solve our children's problems for them. Be there, be supportive, but let them think. Teach them to problem solve and overcome challenges, which is much more valuable than you doing it for them. When we solve our children's problems, we're teaching them that we don't trust them to solve their own problems, and we're taking away opportunities for them to build resilience. How often do we remind ourselves or our children to just breathe? It may sound simple, but deep breathing is an amazing technique for helping us to calm down during challenging moments or stress and frustration. When we take those big, deep breaths, it tells our bodies that we are safe. Our muscles relax and our brains become clearer and more focused. By teaching your child the deep breathing techniques, you can help them to overcome frustration, fear, or anger. This helps the child to realize that they are in control of their body and that they are safe. Movement and nature are two of the most powerful tools that you can use to help teach your child resilience. Use the example of a maybe 2 to 3-year-old child walking on a trail through a hiking park somewhere, and you're walking a few steps behind because of course they're very enthusiastic and they love to run ahead, but they come across a fallen log in the pathway. Now, some parents will rush in and simply lift the child over the log and that way remove any opportunity that that child had to problem solve, to persevere, to overcome a challenge. It's important that we sit back and we just wait. Remember, you're close enough that you're there if they need help or if they're in danger. But by allowing that child to figure out how they're going to overcome this challenge, we are giving them an opportunity to build resilience. Now, out in nature, children must also learn to work at their own pace. They must feel safe and in control. So don't rush them. Give them that space and that time to figure out the problem. Eventually, they might ask for your assistance, but see how they do and help them to overcome the challenge, perhaps verbally at first and saying, well, maybe you should try this, or look at that branch, perhaps you can climb over there. It's important to give our children these opportunities and not to take them away by assisting them at every turn. Routines and rituals are essential elements of fostering emotional resilience for children. Your bedtime, mealtime, and self-care routines promote their physical and emotional well-being and set them up to overcome other challenges in life. Daily family rituals such as bedtime stories, evening walks, shared meals, and even those weekly events such as religious rituals and movie nights, they develop a sense of shared experience for your child, and it really boosts their sense of belonging. That is a key element of creating a secure base for your child. We've talked about it before, and I'll say it again, boundaries are important. What's very important is to ensure that the boundaries you have established are age appropriate for your child. And remember, boundaries are not a punishment. They are the structure in which your child lives to help them to feel safe. Your family and your home are unique, and therefore your rules and your expectations will be unique too. However, I feel that there are 3 aspects in a family structure that are universal. The first being consistency. Remember that any boundaries established are only effective if they are consistently maintained. That brings us to unity. Unity is important amongst all the caregivers and all the children in the home. When we are unified in maintaining boundaries, that is when the children feel safe. And the last one is reflect and repair. It is important that whenever any kind of discipline is carried out, that we create time and opportunity for reflection on why the discipline was carried out. Why is the boundary there? And then, of course, repair your connection with your child with lots of love. Our children are going to face all kinds of challenges on a daily basis. Some of them will be minor setbacks, while others will be significant adversity. Our job is not to fix our children's problems, but rather to be there and to create that secure base from which they can solve their own problems, regulate their own emotions, face those challenges with a growth mindset. Remember, fixing a child's problems is robbing them of the opportunity to build resilience. The love, the support, the secure base that you have created for your child is what's going to make the difference when they're facing those challenges. It's going to set them up to view those challenges not as a roadblock that stalls them, but rather as a minor obstacle in the way. And so as we come to the end of this workshop, I leave you with 3 challenges of your own. First, be kind to yourself. Prioritize self-care. Get enough rest. Eat healthy food. Get some exercise. Go walk in the sun. You have a huge task of raising another human being, so it's important to take good care of yourself. Next, I'd like you to adopt a growth mindset. Do not be consumed by social media and technology and all the bad news out there. Technology will consume us and distract us as much as it possibly can. Rather find positive experiences in special time rituals with your family. In Romans 12 verse 2 it says, do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but rather be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renew your mind with positive experiences, with family times, and create that special attachment with your children. And in the last one, very important, ask for help. You'll be surprised at how many people are facing the same challenges that you are facing. If you reach out, you'll be amazed at the love and the support that you will receive from your family, your community, the schools. So I challenge you to go out there and ask for help when you're feeling overwhelmed. Thank you so much for joining us for this workshop. I hope it's been informative. I hope it's been relevant. And we will be posting some more workshops later in the year. So hit that like and subscribe button and the notifications bell so that you can be informed when our next workshop is available. If you have not yet bought a copy of Great Beginnings, Shaping Your Child's Success from Day One, you can use this QR code to access our website. We deliver anywhere in South Africa.